All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. This is episode 15 of On the Fly with Kai. And I can't believe today is April 1st, 2021. Where does the time go? I tell you, I'm excited because in the studio today, I have an incredible woman. In fact, we have known each other for about 13 years. I have Helen, and I'm going to say it correctly here. Ready? Helen Baldovinos.
You got
Did I
it.
say it right? Okay. So I love it. So Helen has actually been in the travel world for 34 years, basically right out of high school, college, just started doing travel. And she's a Bay Area native. And about 10, 13 years ago, we met at the San Jose Chamber of Commerce. We were both ambassadors. And I was so impressed just how giving and what a great heart she has for travel and helping people's dreams come true, that we actually hired her to do a cruise for us and our executive directors on the team. And man, that was a lot of fun. So not only is she knowledgeable on how to do the cruise, she got us access to happy hours and training rooms. So we had like a working cruise. It was absolutely amazing. And I love her take on travel because she feels like if we travel more, right, we're going to be more understanding of the world and of other humans and more tolerant and compassionate, which is really, really important to me and resonates with me. And I just think that she's like a dream maker. So, and I love that she's been married forever, 29 years, is a pet lover like me. And so, Helen, we were just chatting before the camera started rolling about, just you're at school and all of a sudden you're like helping somebody with travel and you're like, this is it. This is my calling. I'd love to continue that conversation so that everybody knows a little bit about, how you got into travel. I mean, for 34 years, you don't look old enough to have anything for 34 years.
Well, I used to be able to pass off that joke, but now it's catching up. But
You look
I,
great.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I started working for my brother-in-law, who is now my partner. When I was 19, I was going to college, and it was just a part-time job. Back in the day, we used to have airline tickets that were printed. So I would actually deliver those to clients or his corporate accounts. I would stamp brochures and file. And one day he said, "Oh, will you call this hotel and see if it's available?" And I've told this story many times over the years, but that was the heaviest phone receiver ever to pick up and make that call. I was so scared, and I got it done. And then after that, I continued to help him out. And I thought, this is just the best job ever. People walk in with their dreams and you get to help make that a reality. And yeah, I just fell in love with it. I couldn't imagine my life doing anything else. And I've been so blessed doing it. So blessed. I've seen the world, not all of the world. And people always ask what's in the background there. And those are all fridge magnets from everywhere I've been. So I've created art out of my refrigerator magnets. So yeah, I always pick up something from everywhere around I've been. So I enjoy that very
I
much.
love it. Well, this show is all about tips, tricks, and hacks for the entrepreneurs. And I would love to know, just kind of as a one-off as an entrepreneur, like what is it like working 34 years for basically family? Because I mean, everyone says, some people say, never work with family, it's a disaster. And some people like, I'm like, if it makes sense, work with them. What are your thoughts on just, being an entrepreneur, owning a business with an in-law for 34 years?
It's funny because there's moments just like with any other coworker, correct? Right. But somehow I compartmentalize it. So, work is work. And, we work together pretty well. And then, sometimes it's like, okay, can I have a holiday where I don't see you again? But overall, it's great. Sometimes it's a little too much, like everything else. Right. But, no, and I have to say, he gave me this opportunity. So I am grateful for that, for everything that's said and done over the 34 years. And, just like working with anyone, it's become, it's my second husband, right? Almost. But
Your work husband.
yeah, my work husband. But yeah, and, it's been very worthwhile. And I'm truly grateful for it. Truly.
That's awesome. So I know last year has been kind of a tricky year for a lot of people, and especially for travel. I know, we were talking about how I turned down an incentive trip. You turned down an incentive trip. It's been a little bit nutty, but don't we feel like kind of a light at the end of the tunnel?
Completely. And I've been telling people, that light at the end of the tunnel, maybe it's sunset through the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, or, in Tahiti, and you're all, over the water bungalow. So, it's funny because people are so conditioned and so used to traveling that all of us, I'd have clients this past year just email me just to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm dying to travel. So I think that's awesome. And, we've truly become a global economy, global network. And I'm reaching out to people still that I know. I just was introduced to somebody in India, but I know people in Norway that I've met on trips, but also in Cambodia, a tour guide, and talk about being affected. I mean, we're all affected here in the US, but you truly have to think like, here's a tour guide in one of the poorest countries I've ever been to, Cambodia. It's gorgeous, but no tourism. What do these people do? So, while restaurants here are struggling, or hairdressers, or all these, types of businesses that have been closed, we need to think about the travel industry as a whole. It's been rough on me, but imagine, the sky cap, the flight attendant, the tour guide, the taxi drivers, it's just all the way down the road. And when you think about it, when we travel, these people make nothing. This is how they, support their families. Cruise employees. I mean, these people work and send all their money home, and now there's nothing. So it's truly an industry that has suffered, but it's truly an industry that we all need to support again. And I think people are ready to do that. So,
Oh my gosh.
I know that was off the tangent, but people need to think and visualize how many people down the line are affected by this, so yeah.
Well, I'm glad, because I know you and I are both like, okay, we're feeling like, okay, I just got my, vaccination. You're like, is your arm hurt? I'm like, yeah, I feel like I got punched, but better than the alternative. And so I know that you're taking your incentive trip. I know I've got one I qualify for in July, and we were just kind of talking about that. And I heard you speak pretty recently on just about best practices for flying. So as we are, getting vaccinated, as we are feeling like, okay, we can go somewhere, you were really on point with some incredible best practices as we start getting back to the airways. And for the audience, you're welcome to type in questions into Facebook. We can see it, and also on YouTube. So if we don't think of something and you want to ask it, by all means, please do. But Helen, I loved what you shared, which is why I wanted to share you with my tribe, because all of our friends are going to start traveling now too. And I've got tons of teammates too that are going to be on these incentive trips, and we want to know how to best protect ourselves. Give us your best on flying right now, especially internationally. Ugh.
Yeah. International is going to come back slow. I mean, international not mean Mexico. Mexico's pretty easy to get to right now, but international, like Italy's closed right now. The borders have been closed. They set a 6-week closure. So, but best practices, first of all, hand sanitizer, hand wipes. And most of you know the 3-1-1 rules for the TSA: 3 ounces of liquid in a 1-quart Ziploc, 1 per person, just the way we all remember it in the industry. But the TSA is now allowing 12 ounces of hand sanitizer. So you can bring that big boy on board with you. And hand wipes are, sanitizing wipes. So what I recommend, and this is what I'll be doing on my trip that I'm going to in May, and I'll be double vaxxed by then, by the way, everyone. And so will my husband and all his family and my family. So we're good. But wipe down the armrests, your seat back, the seat tray. And one thing I discovered in my research, never, and we should have never done this before, pre-pandemic, never stick your hands in the pouches in front of you. Flight attendants say they find diapers, yucky tissues, and everything in between. And, I used to go in there for my little Sky Mall magazine, see what kind of, useless stuff, but don't do it. Don't put anything in that little seat pocket in front of you, because as well as you can wipe it, it's fabric, and you're sticking your hands deep in there. So just stay out of there. Mask.
Okay, I got to pause here. When you told me that, I was like, I thought about all the flights I'd taken, all the times I put my book in there or my pen in there, and then you put your pen in your mouth. And I'm like, Oh, wow. That
I know, it's a
visual.
miracle we weren't all sick before, right? Yeah, because I mean, I'm queen of shoving everything in there, right? Never again will I do that.
Wow.
Never again. Yeah, and God forbid what's on the floor when we set our suitcases down, but we have no choice in that. But masking, of course, all airlines, it's mandatory. It's mandatory on in the US, every public transportation system, train, bus, airplane. But in addition to masking, I recommend on the airplane, double mask. I know they have filtration systems and things like that. Double mask. It's not going to kill you. And in fact, it won't kill you. Also, I recommend bringing multiple masks, okay? Because let's say you're on a connection. You're going to go through an airport and get on a new airplane, right? So change your mask in between flights. Get a fresh mask to get on the new airplane because you're carrying germs.
Are they the blue ones? Is that the ones you're talking about? Because you can get like those in a pack, or do you want the N95, like the big bad boys, because they're like $1 a piece and you're throwing them away all the time?
Yeah,
What do you
no,
use? What kind
I
of
think
mask?
anything, maybe one of those blue masks, and then, even one of those fabric masks that, I have a ton. My sister-in-law makes them for us. So, but just double mask. And I think the blue mask under like a cloth mask is fine if you have the N95s. But keep in mind, we wear masks, and I don't know if a lot of people even do this. I wash mine all the time. Some people just rewear theirs. Well, the whole thing about masks is the germs on the outside, right? So you don't want to keep wearing that and touching that either. So put it in a Ziploc. When you get to your destination, just hand wash it in the hotel sink, or, well, there's no cruises going, but wherever you go, in the sink. But it's just wear multiple masks, change them often, wash your hands often, everything that we're doing, right? Now, as far as being on the airplane itself, they're saying the window seats are the best. Everybody loves aisles. I prefer window myself, but I get stuck in the middle with my husband because he gets the window, right? But they say it's safest because you're not in an aisle with all the foot traffic going back and forth. So if you think about that, it creates a little bit more of a buffer for you. So it's a good idea to do that. Take the hand sanitizer and the wipes with you if, God forbid, you have to use an onboard lavatory, right? Wipe the doorknob inside out, the sink handles, the toilet, everything. And not that you want to touch the toilet, but if you hit turbulence and you fall onto it, be sure everything's clean and sanitized. Yeah. So that's just one thing. And then also, always, if you can, pick a nonstop flight. That just eliminates the extra airports, the extra airplanes, just the chance of coming in more contact. So now, one thing, bring your own water, stay hydrated, right? Of course, through security, you can only take a little bit. So you're going to have to buy water, but I recommend buying a huge bottle, bring your own container and fill it. Now, in the pre-pandemic days, the airports had the water stations where you could fill your bottles, but most of those are closed right now. Obvious reasons, right? They're all taped off. So, bring your container, put the water in there, and that's your container. I'm one for, I know you mentioned sustainable tourism.
But you're gonna buy it at the airport.
At the airport.
So you're gonna bring your own container,
and
you're gonna buy bottles of water, pour it in there, and then bring that with you. Okay.
Yeah. I guess, I suppose you could just carry those bottles, but then when you're in destination, you can just keep your own water bottle with you. I just think that's the safest thing. Plus, unfortunately, this pandemic, I'm very eco-friendly type of person. This pandemic is just, single-use plastics, single-use bottles. So it's really killing me, my heart. Like in the beginning of the pandemic, we couldn't even take our own grocery bags into the grocery store, right? Our reusable bags and all these plastic bags. So it was killing me. But stay hydrated on this airplane. That's where the whole point of this water is, because our mucous membranes and things like that are what keeps us healthy. They keep us filtered. If you're dry, I mean, granted, you're still going to have a mask, but you have more chance of picking up things when your nose is dry and you're not feeling well. So stay hydrated. It's very important.
But then you're going to have to use the restroom more.
I know. I was going to say that's the downside, but it's so important, even pre-pandemic, to stay hydrated on airplanes. That's where jet lag happens a lot, or you pick up, you get sick and that type of thing. So
best practices on that. Like if you're supposed to be drinking on the airplane, but you aren't supposed to take your mask off, what do you recommend for that? Like I was thinking you just don't want to eat or drink anything on the flight.
Yeah, no, I mean, you do want to drink. So just lift it up, take a quick sip, put it down. Don't just sit there with your water bottle, be diligent, when like, when you're thirsty or when you haven't had something to drink in a while, just lift it up real quick, take your drink, put it right back on. That takes me to my next point as far as be self-sufficient, bring your own food, because a lot of airlines have stopped meal service or beverage service. Bring your own food, your snacks and everything, and wipe your hands before you munch, everyone. It's just something to think about. Like we'll grab snacks and eat them, and we've been touching everything on that airplane, right? I mean, I'm guilty of it.
Would you recommend that we shouldn't eat on the airplane, but eat in the airport? Is that safer before you're eating? You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you can, yes. But like for me, my flight out is going to be 7 a.m. out of SFO. Check-in is at 5 a.m. There's not going to really be much open, so I'm going to pack my own stuff. And when we get hungry halfway through the flight, it's a nonstop flight. It's a 6-hour flight, so just open it. Again, take your mask down, munch a little bit, put your mask back on. It's not like you're at an open air restaurant where you can leave your mask off, and So the airlines have been really good about these things, but it's up to you to be healthy and safe, and you don't want to be sick on your vacation that we've waited over a year to take, right? So I think that's it as far as being safe on the airplanes. Yeah.
So what about the air filtration system in the airplanes? Like, has that changed, improved? How healthy is that air now?
They've always had a filtration system. People always go, oh, I got sick because the airplane, recirculates air. Well, it's always gone through HEPA filters. They may have improved the HEPA filter system. And a lot of airlines are disinfecting with ultraviolet, lights in between flights.
Right.
But like Southwest has now said that, not to bash a certain airline, but they have now said that they're not going to clean in between flights. So it's scary.
What airlines are leaving the middle seat open and stuff like that? Like, what are the safest airlines if we want to fly now? Because many of us are ready to rock. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I know for sure Alaska Airlines is still Delta Airlines is still blocking seats. I was thinking about Alaska because I was having some issues with them. So I'm like, darn you, which they're usually really good. Southwest is very concerning to me only because, it's a free-for-all for seats, as we all know. But now when they do their boarding calls, when it's like, A1 through 30, they were doing like A1 through 12. So they were only lining up a certain amount of people. Now it's back to what it was. So, it's no 6 feet distance. Everybody's rushing to get that seat, whereas pre-assigned seats are really helpful in this case. But a lot of airlines, the basic economy fares, people see that cheapest fare. And to be honest, I rarely quote that fare because it doesn't give you pre-assigned seats. You board last. It may or may not allow carry-on luggage. You almost always pay for luggage anyways. But those basic economy, if you're trying to take care of your health and safety, you want a pre-assigned seat. So you're not rushing, you're not the last, and you have to sit next to somebody you don't even know in some cases.
So is it worth it? Like, I mean, I always think like it's so not a good use of your money to go first class. Does it make sense to do that now? I mean, what do you recommend?
I've been talking to some clients about that. They're like, oh yeah, I'm only going to go first class. But well, wait, first class or business, they board first, so all these people are walking by you. But I'm like, well, just, you can stay in the lounge. They're starting to open the lounges again at the airports, which is great. So you can stay in the lounge until it's time to board. Okay, you miss out on the early cocktail, when you're on board the flight.
I thought there was no cocktails on board anymore. Is there now?
Some, and first in business, they might be doing that. So, but yeah, I would wait and board last. If I was in business and first, you have a pre-assigned seat. But yeah, otherwise you've got the whole plane walking by you boarding. So yeah.
And it wouldn't really affect your luggage because they're going to save that first class luggage area for you anyway.
Right.
So no one can put their stuff in there. Is business class the same?
Yes.
They save off that for you. Okay, well, this is really good stuff. What about countries that are closed right now? You said Italy. Are there other big no-nos that we should just put off the dream list for another 12 months?
Let's hope not. I want to go to Spain this fall, so we'll see. I think it's still a pipe dream, but the UK, I know they had closed their borders. Canada, I'm not sure if New Zealand is taking, I know they opened their borders. By the way, lowest count of COVID in New Zealand, run by a woman. But I'm not sure if they're taking U.S. citizens. So some countries are opening up, but they're not taking U.S. citizens.
But not for us, because we're dirty. Okay, got it.
Yeah, because,
So, I mean, there's just so many reasons, and we're going to get into the reasons why, you should use a travel agent like we did, especially when we did some corporate travel and stuff like that. But just so, we don't bug you and like, oh, what's this? What's that? What are some great resources? I'm assuming TSA is a good place to their website, but what can you do? So like, if we want to travel smart, where's some good resources without bugging you?
Well, the TSA is great. And it's, they have a section, it's TSA.gov/coronavirus, all kinds of information there. And then also the CDC, cdc.gov/coronavirus. And
wait, I'm going to put it in the chat. What's the first one?
TSA.gov/coronavirus.
.gov. Why can I not type /coronavirus? Boy, that's a long one. Okay.
And then the CDC, that's cdc.gov/coronavirus.
Coronavirus. Okay.
And those are the two main sites that I would go to. Of course, you can Google all kinds of information. It's out there, but these are trusted sites because, just like everything in the beginning of this pandemic, everybody has an opinion or, oh, they picked up this little bit of knowledge, but these are the people that are truly going to control how you fly, where you go, how you're going to do it. Also, one thing to mention with these resources, when you travel, and I heard this on the news today, it wasn't so much about travel, but when you get vaccinated, so you got vaccinated yesterday, Kai, you got a little card with your one little shot information on there, right? They gave you a little card. Well, I have my card. So when you get your second one, they'll have the second one on there. What they're saying to do is make a photocopy of it, and take it, unless you have something, to Kinko's or Office Max and get that copy laminated. Smart. And travel with that. Don't take the original, because if we need booster shots or anything like that, they're going to have to put it on that original. But if you take a copy, have it laminated, carry it with you everywhere. It just... like I heard today, the Giants opening game, they're going to require proof of vaccination or proof of a COVID test just to go to the baseball game. And and most resorts, in continuing that thought about testing, most resorts and a lot of destinations, Hawaii, Mexico doesn't require it. I know Belize, Croatia actually is open, but upon return to the U.S., they require that you have a valid COVID test within 72 hours of your return to the U.S. Now,
even if you have your proof of vaccination?
Right now, because they're still trying to figure that out. But when you go to these resorts, they do that for free for you now. So, because they want people to go. So they want to make it easy. So like the resorts you're going to will give you a free COVID test, the resort I'm going to. So it's pretty standard practice. Now, if you do like an Airbnb or a VRBO or something like that, you're going to have to figure that out. where you're going to get that COVID test within 72 hours before you come home. Otherwise,
Oh,
you're
wow.
not coming home. That may change, and maybe today it's already different on the TSA, but yeah. And that's one thing to note. And like Kai said, these resources are really good, and stuff is so fluid right now. I have some people going to Hawaii in August, and I told them, I can tell you what today's COVID requirements are, but let's wait till you get closer, because it makes no sense for me to keep updating you until we get closer. And Hawaii has been really tough.
And that's probably when you want to be careful Googling, because it could be old information, may not be up to date. So use that TSA and the CDC. Boy, I could be here all day. I can't believe we're already running out of time. Dang.
I know. I saw that. I was just like, yeah, well, travel's such my passion. It's hard to shut me up. So.
Well, and so many people, like our incentive trips coming up. We do a lot of travel in our business, just statewide as well. So this is the longest I've been shut down. I know people often think and have a lot of misconceptions about travel agents. So like, oh, it's going to cost me a fortune. I'm not paying for that, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you could dispel some myths, because as we start traveling, especially in these uncertain times, I think it would be invaluable to use maybe, as well, especially if you're going to go internationally, especially if you're doing a group or a corporate or whatever. So talk to us about what are the misconceptions about a travel agent, and why would we use one? Because I highly recommend people using professionals for everything.
Exactly. That's what I always tell people. Always use a professional. Like, I don't do my own investing. I don't do my own taxes. I don't do my own real estate. It's like, you go to a professional for that, right? No one thinks twice about paying their tax, person or their attorney, or, their legal aid. No one thinks twice about that kind of stuff. But then when it comes to travel, all of a sudden it changes. And it's like in my case, I've been doing this 34 years. I've seen it all. I've seen the .com boom, the .com bust. I've seen September 11 come and go. I've seen it all. And
now COVID.
Now COVID, and we've survived. Yay. But our fees are so nominal, and depending, each travel agent has their own set of fees. So it's hard to say, but, the small amount of fee that we charge is worth $1 million. For example, at the beginning of COVID, I had a group of 30 traveling to Germany. Wow. I had to cancel, deal with the airlines to get a refund the clients, different tours, cruises, tour operators, Imagine if you had booked it yourself. There were days where I spent 3 to 5 hours just on hold with an airline. In that case, a $30 or $50 fee for an airline ticket sure doesn't seem like a lot if you're sitting on hold, Also, and, not to bash online travel agencies like Expedia, Orbitz, that type of thing. But keep in mind, there aren't problem solvers on those phones. And I've had to help clients navigate through that stuff. And, you want to be able to deal with the person start to finish. And, our expertise, like some people, I just had some clients' trip canceled in May from last May. We had rebooked thinking, no problem. A year from now, here we go again, right? But I've been playing the waiting game. So it's like my knowledge to go, hey, if we wait, they're going to cancel. You get the most rewards. You either get upgrades, benefits, credits. But if you cancel before they do, you get nothing, and sometimes you get penalized. So it's just, our expertise, our knowledge, our advice is just, worth $1 million in my opinion. But also, just recently I booked somebody on a cruise. She's a fellow polka dot, and she had gotten a quote with a regular cruise line. And she's like, you know what? I just thought about you. Can you see what you can do? Can you match it? I beat it by $600 because I'm part of this consortium where all these travel agents are in. Wow. And we had a group on that sailing. So she got a $600 savings, so something as simple as that. So, and like I like to tell people, you go online to Expedia or Orbitz or Travelocity, you spend hour after hour when you could be enjoying your family or just your time off after work. Oh, and you found that great deal. How do you know that was the best deal? And how much is your time worth? Like here in Silicon Valley, people make a lot of money. So you spent 10 hours. So how much have you saved, right? You get to resort. Oh, we don't have a room for you, Mr. Jones. As your family is looking out at the pool or the beach, you spend hours at the front desk trying to figure out how you're going to get that room, different things. And with a travel agent, I'm not saying things don't happen, because I have to count on the airline, the person to pick you up, the hotel, the tour, blah, 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 all the way down the line. But if there is a problem, you've got somebody to call. There's a saying in our industry: without a travel agent, you're on your own. So, and it's truly the case.
So if we have a problem, we just call you, right? We say, hey, they don't have a reservation. They don't have this and that. So I love it, because I think there's going to be a huge boom, not obviously in travel, because that's just going to happen by itself. But I think because it is trickier to navigate, that the need for travel agents is going to go even higher. And then and I know we're out of time. I'm going to take one more minute. Do we use you for domestic or international only? Do we do travel agents for domestic? I know we do it for cruises and international, but do we do it for domestic as well?
It really depends. It depends on the destination. So I tell people, ask me. I mean, if it's a simple flight here, San Jose to LA or even Vegas, sometimes just, you go online and book it. But if it's something complicated, or even like back to New York or, Chicago, Florida, it gets a little bit trickier. And like, hey, if you took this route, it might save you some money, or different things like that. So, but,
So I know we're out of time. So if people want to engage with you, Helen, how do they reach you?
Well, my agency is Let's Travel. My email is helen@letstravelvacations.com.
Vacations, I hope I spelled it right, .com. So I put that in the chat as well. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I could literally be here all day. I wanted to ask you, like, what's your biggest travel nightmare you ever had? Like, I was going to have a lot of fun with you, so we'll have to have you back on the show. But with that, just want to say, thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching today. We're here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, all time zones in between, with incredible tips, tricks, and hacks for the entrepreneur with On the Fly with Kai. Thank you so much, Helen. With that, take care, take charge. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Grateful for